Everybody get past their menus, get to timestamp 0, and then get ready to press play when I say now. In 3, 2, 1, now. Yes, this is a backdoor pilot for our Shining channel. It'll last 5 minutes.
You know what? I think there's actually more content we could cover for that than you'd expect.
Yeah, but I mean, you could just put that all on here. It's all horror.
Right, exactly.
So
I mean, maybe we'll do the books at some point, but I don't know.
I would love to at least do the Shining book because that is one of, I think, King's best.
Yeah, I like what I've read of it. I started it years ago and then I got busy with other stuff, so I need to go back to it.
So, having watched this and now having finally watched the miniseries, the best way I would describe the two versions, and I know everybody hates the miniseries, but they're wrong. It's not great, but it's not as bad as everyone would have you believe. This movie gets the horror of The Shining right. The miniseries gets the family drama right. I think there's still a perfect adaptation that's somewhere in the middle, but both are good at what we have.
I hate to do this right now, but could I get a timestamp for where you're at because my movie just buffered for some reason?
1 minute 25 according to our timer on the stream.
Right,
I put the timestamp on the stream, Noah.
Oh yeah, I should look at that more. I'm only looking at the chat, really.
The Shining in its basic ass font.
I guess we'll get more into it later, but I think my main thing with the book versus the movie is that they're setting out to accomplish two different things, and it might be nice to have a version of the book story that's actually good and not what the miniseries is, but I don't know. I think I'm fine with the story in the book just existing in a book and then Kubrick doing his own thing with the movie.
We're at a point now and we'll get to this one when we get to Doctor Sleep. I don't need any more. Flanagan kind of gives me everything I'm missing from the Shining book in Doctor Sleep. So now we kind of have that perfect duology of like it covers everything, even if it's not necessarily the way you want it. But my biggest issue with this movie is Jack. I think he is way too one dimensional in this movie, at least the way he's presented. Whereas in the book, he is much more of a complicated character, and a lot of what makes his downfall so tragic is that he is trying to be better. Whereas this version doesn't really seem like he wants to be better. He's just hates his family.
See, and I think that's what makes him so interesting, but we'll definitely touch upon that later.
Not to take anything away. So I will just say up front, this is a good movie. This is a bad adaptation. I think you can separate the two.
Fair enough. Yeah. I do
Also,
think an
Jack Nicholson is
should...
giving one of the best performances in like the genre.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's great in this movie. I do think an adaptation shouldn't necessarily be an exact copy of the source material. And I don't think that's what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
But I do appreciate that Kubrick wanted to do something different with it.
So, just to clarify for other people watching, my problem isn't changes, it's the changes that he makes alter what the story is about thematically. I think if you're adapting something, you don't have to be verbatim, but you should still hit those same themes. That's what I'm there for. And Kubrick just doesn't seem interested in that.
Yeah, it's like I said earlier, it's a different work, and I think
Yeah.
I think both should be judged separately.
One thing that I will say
So,
I do appreciate more in the movie after reading the book and this again and then this, he does Tony a lot better as kind of the imaginary friend is a metaphor for him having a power he can't possibly understand. I don't know if you know what it is in the book. If you want me to, I can explain it. But it is better here.
I like that it's kept vague here, and I think ultimately in Well, in Doctor Sleep, you get a little bit of an explanation for it, where it's just he thought it was his imaginary friend, but it's really just his shining powers, and he put like a thing. He put like an imaginary friend to contextualize it. So, but I don't know what it is in the book. I don't know how it's.
Do you want me to tell
explained.
you, or do you want to just read the book?
You can go ahead and tell me.
In the book, it is Danny from the future trying to warn younger Danny about what's going to happen through The Shining, because his middle name is Anthony.
Okay. Interesting. I'd have to see how that plays in the book, because I wouldn't have expected it to go in that direction.
I don't hate it. That is where King kind of leads more into, I think, the sci-fi elements of this universe.
Mm-hmm. Which is they kind of lead out of it in this version and then lean back into it in Doctor Sleep.
Robert Watts says, just a different take on Jack. He's holding back a lot of rage. He's playing as a guy who can't stand his wife and kid, isn't happy with the situation, and is taking it out on them. Tony is hilariously poorly done in the. Yes, no, he is. It's awful in the miniseries.
I've seen Tony in the miniseries. It looks really bad. I'm sorry though. My internet sucks right now. And I think the stream is a little behind on me. So what is your timestamp?
6:35, 36, 37, 38, 39,
Okay.
40.
I should hopefully be good right now.
Okay. I honestly think that a miniseries isn't a bad way to adapt this, but it would, at this point, I think you would need to do a miniseries, like a streaming miniseries. But again, with this movie and Doctor Sleep, when you put them together, it kind of counted as one piece. We've covered everything that I want from an adaptation of The Shining.
Yeah, I think Doctor Sleep definitely covers a lot of that stuff, and it's Stephen King worked on it, so
yeah, I mean that entire third act is just Flanagan redoing The Shining third act, but better.
Yeah, and they had to make both him happy and fans of the movie happy, and without getting too much into that movie, I think they did a pretty good job of that.
Well, and I was thinking today as I was watching it, what I would have done instead is I would have just had Flanagan remake this and then do Doctor Sleep.
See, I don't think we would have gotten Doctor Sleep if they did remake this, because I think most people would riot if they remade this.
I think you could market it. I think you can market it differently enough. And you could market it just alone to like the King diehards that don't like the Kubrick movie, because those people do exist. And word of mouth would spread, oh, this is a good movie. But this material is like prime for Flanagan, because he loves doing stories about trauma, as we'll experience as we go further into it. Robert Roth says Jack Nicholson is being interviewed by the first James Bond. What?
Is that who that is?
Wait, there's a Bond before Connery?
Yeah, so before they did the Connery movies, there was like this TV special where Bond was played by an American guy, and it was an adaptation of Casino Royale. From what I've seen of it, it looks, the guy that they got does not do a great job of playing Bond, but I had no idea that this was the same actor.
I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, I don't think a whole lot of people know about it.
So, this is just a minor difference, and I'm not saying whether it's good or bad. But in the book, Grady shoots his kids and then blows himself off with a shotgun. So I think it's interesting they change it to the axe to foreshadow the third act.
Where he uses the axe, yeah. I think the axe is a lot more disturbing inherently than just, I mean, shooting is also bad, but like the axe is more, it's a more brutal way of killing someone.
And to be fair, there is no axe in the book.
Yeah, it's a croquet mallet.
And he beats the fuck out of Wendy in the book.
Jeez.
Dr. Sleep, the novel, talks a little bit about like she suffered health problems for the rest of her life because of that.
Yeah, by the way, yeah, Robert, this is why physical media is better than streaming.
Only if
I
you have
didn't, I
shitty
don't think
internet.
I don't think I had enough time to get the 4K of this, and now I'm paying the
I mean,
price.
it's only because you have shitty internet. If you have good internet, there's no difference.
Yeah,
Unless your internet's out, but
it's inconsistent internet. Sometimes it works. Most of the time it works. Tonight it's not, for some reason. Sorry about that, guys.
it's all good.
But yeah, Barry Nelson played Bond in a TV adaptation of Casino Royale. He's called Jimmy Bond. That's
It's
right.
really funny.
Forgot about that.
So one other thing that Kubrick leaves out in this opening section is Danny gets a lot of visions, but he can't tell like who's on the other side. All he can hear is "You're gonna take your medicine. You're gonna take your goddamn medicine." And then you get to the end of the book, and Jack starts saying that, and you realize he's been hearing Jack trying to kill him the whole time, but he's not old enough to put the pieces together.
Oh, this is in the Shining book?
Yeah, he sees
Oh.
everything that's going to happen, but he can't put it together because he's only 7 or 5 or 6.
Yeah, that kind of tracks with this movie because Tony gives him visions of stuff that's going to happen in the movie, and one of those is the blood elevator.
I don't know. The mallet's fine. The problem in the miniseries is they put all this bad looking makeup on Jack to show that he's been corrupted by the hotel. This is a beautiful shot. The blood coming out of the elevator.
Oh yeah, slow motion.
Dude, I'm watching this on my OLED TV on the 4K, and the red is just like dark,
It
dark crimson.
pops.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched this on my 4K TV to prepare, and it looked really good. Worked fine there. For some reason, it's not working now. But my thing with the mallet is it seems like something that would work more in written form than it would visually, at least from what I've seen of the miniseries, because every time I see shots of the miniseries with him and the mallet, I can't help but think of the mask. That part in the mask where Jim Carrey's got the giant mallet and he's whacking the
Well,
clock.
so I think the problem with the miniseries with during the big mallet scene is tone. If you can make that scary, it's just all about the tone you set. But that movie doesn't have any kind of like atmosphere or horror to it, which, like I said, it utterly fails on the horror side. But what works is the character stuff and like the fall of Jack.
Mm-hmm. Uh, John, I'm thinking I might have to change the way I'm like my location,
Is
so I
it
can actually
buffering
watch this
again?
movie.
Is it
Yeah.
buffering again? Okay.
We'll keep going, and I'll just ask for a timestamp later.
Are you sure? We can
So
pause.
no, and I wouldn't want you to everyone to pause the movie just for me. That's fine.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm just gonna get up for a second. I'll be right back.
Okay. Uh, Robert Wilde, this movie really leans into Jack is going through a midlife crisis state. Yes, it does.
Hey, I'm gonna watch over here because for some reason voodoo on my work.
Little do we know, Torgo. Yeah, he was visited by Floyd the bartender. There's also a Wendy who is clearly denied about what her husband is really. Yeah, I I have issues with that take, but it works enough. No, she's definitely very much in denial about who her like what her life is like. He's back.
This is a not a great setup, but I'm gonna be in the dark, I think. But it's the only way I
I
can watch this movie. I'm sorry, guys.
can see you.
You can see my silhouette, but that's okay. Kind of defeats the purpose of wearing this. All right. Oh, well, now it's completely dark.
We're figuring it out, folks.
We're- Sorry,
Shelley
everybody. All
Duvall's
right.
performance, it was really great. She was utterly trashed by critics from this. Yeah, I
Yeah,
just
no, she's really good in this movie.
I like that this scene with her smoking, like you can see she's not actually puffing any of it. It just keeps going longer and longer.
Yeah. All right. What are we at right now?
17, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34,
Okay. Come on. 17:30.
43, 44,
All right.
45.
I'm at about 18. Once it loads, we should be good. All right.
Yeah, I'm at
Again,
55.
yeah, I'm here right now, so we're good. Again, everybody, apologize for the inconvenience, but so I really like Nicholson's performance in this scene where he's driving to the hotel with his family because you can just tell his utter disdain for these people, even
Yeah.
though it's his wife and kid. Like it might not be your favorite take on Jack Torrance, but I think that Nicholson pulls it off really well.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, Nicholson's really good in this movie. My issues with him are just writing. I think it's fundamentally less interesting that he goes crazy if he's already crazy before he gets to the hotel.
That's fair. I think we'll get into it later, but I think they do specific things with him that I find interesting. And I wasn't able to comment on it with in the opening scene, but I think a lot of what makes this movie so disturbing for me is the music.
Nicholson's facial expressions are really funny sometimes, though.
Yeah, yeah, where he's like, yes, he learned it on TV.
The Donner Party is also a really big part of the book. They come up multiple times, and I don't know why. I don't think that exact dialogue exchange is, but like I said, the Donner Party does show up, like is mentioned quite a few times in the book. Um, no, the music is really good. However, would not recommend watching this movie with headphones. I watched it like that last night. That score is just
Ooh.
like piercing,
Yeah, is it just
especially with
mixed
good
really loud?
headphones. Yeah, especially with a good set of headphones.
See, I'd like to try to watch this with headphones just to see what the whole sound design is like. Because I feel like it would be a little bit more scary that way.
My TV has this really cool feature where I can, instead of like putting the audio through the TV, I can put it through my phone, and then I just connect my headphones to my
Oh.
phone.
Yeah, sometimes I've got these Bluetooth headphones, and sometimes I'll watch a movie and I'll connect it to my TV because I don't have good speakers with my TV.
Same. If I turn it up too loud, everybody else can hear it. If I don't turn it up loud enough, I can't hear it.
Yeah. Now this isn't something I've really looked into that much, but a lot of the big talking points with this movie is the layout of the hotel and how it doesn't really make any geographical sense.
I have heard
In
that. I
the
haven't looked too much into that, but I know that Kubrick like purposely designed sets that wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, I've never paid too much attention to it. I think there's a specific example later I could point out, but for the most part, it's never really stuck out to me.
And I'm going to be honest, I don't know enough about that stuff to even notice.
I just like it as a choice
Yeah, no,
because
that
I
is
think
cool.
it's a good way to disorient the audience.
I love the way this hotel is set up.
And here we're at the creepy twins.
So, okay, so I lied about my first time ever seeing The Shining. This is the first bit of The Shining I ever saw because in the movie Twister, um, they're at a drive-in watching The Shining, and those twins show up before a tornado destroys the.
Oh,
And that is the first time I ever saw anything with The Shining.
you think they're gonna watch Doctor Sleep in Twisters?
Austin made that exact same joke.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Robert Wild, we need to talk about the conspiracy theories around this movie. Was it really about Native Americans or Kubrick's convention for faking the moon landing?
Yeah,
I just
that
don't
up
care.
later. I was gonna bring the moon landing thing up later because there's a specific scene that people point to with that, and I think it's so much of a stretch.
I can't bring myself to care about any of those stupid theories.
No, I mean some of them are interesting because I think they do fit into what Kubrick was trying to do thematically, but stuff like the moon landing thing is just so like you're really reaching
No,
for
like if it's
something.
actually a theory about this movie, not this movie is actually code for, you know,
For yeah,
the moon
yeah, exactly.
landing.
And for one, I'm one of those people that has the controversial opinion that we did go to the moon. So I
I
wouldn't
can't
believe a
believe
theory
that's a
like that to be.
controversial opinion anymore.
Yeah, yeah, it's being sarcastic.
One thing I am glad that they cut for this movie, just because of when this came out, is in the book the hedge animals come to life. I can't imagine a world where that looks good in an '80s film.
Yeah, from what I've seen of the miniseries, that looks really silly. Um, I think don't because you see them move in CGI at one point, but don't they do kind of like a weeping angel thing
It's when
earlier
you're not
where
looking. Yeah.
you're not looking? I think that's how they could have done it the whole
Yeah.
time, but for some reason they had to animate them, and it looks way worse.
Well, especially that's a '97 TV movie. Like,
Yeah, there's no way that was gonna look any good. Robert Wild, I watched that documentary Room 237 completely blind back in the day, and it was hilariously bad. Yeah, it
I've
seems
never
like
seen
they
it.
interviewed. I haven't seen it. I'd like to watch it, but it seems like they interviewed a lot of crackpots for that one. Here we got Scatman Crothers as
So,
Halloran.
well, I'll complain about it more later, but I just want to complain. This is purely a fanboy complaint. This is not a knock against the movie. It is a complete waste what they do with Dick at the end of this movie. I hate it.
Oh, does he not get killed in the book?
No, Jack doesn't kill anybody in the book.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't know that. Because they does he get killed in the miniseries?
No.
No.
No, that
Okay.
miniseries is like one for one the book, just with shitty
Okay.
effects.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we're gonna have to do a video on that at some point.
Yeah, that'll be our next commentary. The 4 hour
Yeah.
miniseries.
Well, it'll be shorter than this video.
True. And I want to do the commentary on the Stand miniseries, which would probably be at the same length as these two movies.
Speaking of theories, though, there's one that I came across that was that stated that there are actually no ghosts in this movie and they're all just going crazy. Uh, that's a theory I'd like to believe, but there's too many stretches and bad coincidences for you to believe that, and I think one of them is the relationship between Halloran and Danny here. It's like,
Oh, really?
why? Yeah, I don't buy that if they're just both crazy people, why would they share the same delusions, and why later would Halloran have the epiphany of like that he has to go back to the hotel because something's wrong? Like there's too much of a coincidence for me to believe that.
No, Scatman is perfect as Dick. Like he is off the page.
He's really good in the movie, yeah. Did you hear about how Kubrick treated him on set though?
No, I mean, from what I've heard about how he treated everyone else, I can only imagine.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Shelley Duvall at some point, I guess. We'll mention that elephant in the room. But Kubrick's notorious for doing a shit ton of takes for his movies. Um, so Scatman Crothers wasn't used to that. So he actually, I think, broke down crying after like the whatever, like 80 whatever take of a scene. I think it was this scene here.
Robert Wilde, does the book have the evil fire hose? I don't remember an evil fire hose.
I think there's one in the miniseries. There's like a CGI hose that with teeth that jumps at the screen.
I think you're right.
Um,
I don't know if you
but
had
yeah,
this, but the guy that they cast as Halloran in the Shining or in the Doctor Sleep looks a lot like Scatman.
yeah, no, it's a dead ringer, and he sounds exactly like him too. And do
Well,
you know who that is, by the way?
I do not, but it's funny because when I first saw that movie, I was like, wait a minute. How did they get him back? Shouldn't he be dead? Like that movie was 40 years ago. I thought it was the
Yeah,
same guy.
yeah, no, him and Wendy are pretty good casting in that movie.
I mean, the Doctor
Uh,
Sleep Wendy is my favorite Wendy.
she's yeah, she's great in that for what little screen time she has. But I didn't know this until recently. The guy that plays Halloran in Doctor Sleep, that's Martian Manhunter from Justice League, the animated series.
Huh.
It's Carl Lumbly, yeah.
Halloran is my favorite like side character in the book. Maybe my favorite character in the book. Um, so I love that we have two very good Hollorans added. Well, three. I like the one in the miniseries too.
Yeah. Um the Doctor Sleep one is just a very good impression of this one. But they're both very good.
Robert Wilde, the guy in Doctor Sleep, was in Falcon and the Winter Soldier and voiced Martian Man. I didn't know he was
Oh
in.
yeah, that's right. He's Isaiah Bradley in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Oh, I didn't
You
even
remember that?
recognize him.
Yeah. Yeah, he keeps popping up in things. I've
But
seen
no,
him.
in the book, Halloran has a big thing when he comes back to the Overlook at the end, where the hedge animals all attack him and try to kill him to keep him away from the Overlook because Jack is almost under their control.
Uh Sorry, if you'll excuse me for 1 second, I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna try putting on a light.
We're getting a tour of Noah's house. I like that Danny is almost ashamed of his gift, even before anything
Oh,
tragic happens. Whoa!
what? My hair's all fucked up.
I like
All
that
right,
Danny is kind of almost kind of ashamed of his gift even before anything bad has happened because of it. Because something that the other thing that
yeah.
this movie plays down is the only reason that the hotel in the book goes after Jack is because it wants Danny.
Uh, yeah, that kind of tracks with Doctor Sleep of him. I
Yeah.
think there's talk in that movie, if I remember correctly, a little bit about him being ashamed of his powers.
Well, and that movie kind of tries to retroactively introduce some of those concepts. Like it really expands on what The Shining is. Um, it brings back that there's more than one ghost in the Overlook. And I like that it confirms that Lloyd isn't a person. Lloyd is whoever it wants to be.
Torgo is writing Red Room in the background. Yeah, I was
Red Rum.
Red Room. Yeah. I think there's a theory I saw recently in doing a
Oh
little bit of
no.
research for this. I'm not gonna bring up all the theories, don't worry. Uh, but
No, you're fine. What
uh,
what bullshit theory did someone come up with now?
this one's kind of bullshit. But someone was like, Lloyd takes the form of whoever the visitor of the hotel's father is. So there's a theory because in Doctor Sleep it's Jack. So there's a theory that the guy who's Lloyd in this movie is Jack's father. I don't know how much I believe that though. I think that's kind of a stretch.
It is a stretch, but there's evidence in the book to support it. One of the first
Okay.
things that Jack experiences when the hotel starts to try to take him over is his father yelling at him on the ham radio that he's a failure and that he needs to correct his son and daughter or son and wife. So, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I think a lot. I think a lot of it is just Jack's soul has been absorbed into the hotel, which I think
yeah,
you get that idea from this movie.
yeah. Well, and the book has a whole thing with Jack and like how he loved his dad, but his dad was an abusive prick.
Hmm.
And like hospitalized his mom, and like Jack doesn't want to be his dad, but you kind of see he almost went down that same path because of alcohol,
Yeah,
and then that spirals further in Doctor Sleep, where Danny has gone down that exact same path because of his father and what happened.
yeah. And then luckily he's able to save himself.
Yeah.
Um, I, so in the book, it's not called Room 237. It's
I think it's two.
like
Yeah, it's 217.
217. I wonder why they changed that.
I don't know. One of the things that always terrified me in the book is because Jack's descent is more gradual. There's just scenes of like Danny and Wendy staying in their little hotel area where they sleep and like hoping Jack doesn't come back. He's off somewhere in the hotel, but and Danny's like they're trying to get him and Wendy's just like I just hope he doesn't come back. You get to breathe with that like they're trapped in there with a guy that's going nuts.
Yeah, I wonder if this were to be turned into a miniseries, a good one.
I had one of those kind of
That
bikes.
granted, I haven't watched the King miniseries, but I think a lot you could put a lot of that stuff back in if you had more of the time of a miniseries.
No, I mean it's fine for this because you're trying to condense that into 2 hours. But no, I had one
Yeah.
of those bikes, except mine was Power Rangers themed, and I loved the fuck out of it when I was that age.
Did you ride it around a hotel?
Yeah, I am
Oh, cool.
actually Danny Torrance.
Then did you run into two creepy twins?
Yeah, they sold me cocaine. I mean,
Whoa. So, I mean, when I first watched this movie, I was kind of put off by how Jack was so unlikable from the beginning. I will admit that. I kind of see what it's doing more now on subsequent watches.
Mm-hmm.
But when I first watched this movie, it was scenes like this, and then later the scene where he's talking to Danny on the bed and he's got his arm around him, and it just looks so threatening and uncomfortable. I was just so confused, like what this movie was even trying to do. Like this guy is not, he's not a good guy from the beginning, and I didn't understand that
The only thing
when I
that
first
baffles
watched this.
me, yeah, the only thing that baffles me about this movie is why they removed the boiler plot.
Yeah, I guess just because they weren't gonna blow up the hotel in this movie.
I guess because I really don't like the ending to this movie.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, because Jack doesn't have his redemption.
Not even that. It's just, I mean, spoilers for a 40-year-old movie. He freezes to
For
death.
watching it,
Like what the?
it's it's
So
fine.
lame.
It's it's creepy. It's a
Mm,
creepy image.
bacon.
When they, yeah, I want some bacon now and eggs. Yeah, when they smash cut to Nicholson's frozen face, it's like, oh god.
I don't know. I think it looks kind of goofy.
Fair enough.
But I've also just I think that's been ruined by memes. I've seen too many memes of that scene. Dude, that looks really good. The other thing that's kind of interesting about this movie is it kind of plays with the idea that he's been like he's always been here.
Yes. So
That final shot of him in the picture is cool, but I don't know what they're saying with that.
yeah, I have some ideas.
Also,
We
I
can get
call
into
bullshit
later.
that he's able to catch every single one of those. Have you ever tried to throw a
Eh,
ball against a wall and catch it like that?
I mean, maybe he's had a lot of practice. I mean, he's had a lot of time, like a downtime, staying in here. So, but another fun fact: did you know that they constructed this whole hedge maze for the movie?
I did not.
Yeah, like they created an entire maze just for these few scenes, which is
Insane.
dedication. Yeah. Yeah, there's a whole behind the scenes documentary that I want to check out at some point, and I kind of wish I looked into more behind the scenes stuff because a lot of it's really interesting.
Robert Wilde, I
Um,
think Jack getting trapped in the maze and freezing to death works. The something kills him.
the hotel kills him.
The stupid heart
Yeah,
emoji's in the way.
yeah.
Mm.
I think that works for this story.
I think it would also work just as well that his own hubris and not dumping the boiler bleeding to his death would have worked, and it would have been a cooler ending.
I don't need everything to explode.
I do.
Uh, I don't need explosions. This movie's a dark and creepy movie. It doesn't need explosions.
The moral of this movie is don't go to the hotel.
Don't go to any hotel. Just stay at home.
Yeah.
Um, I wonder how people try to explain him seeing Wendy and Danny here if there are no ghosts in this movie.
I missed that on my last watch.
Oh
That's a
yeah,
cool
yeah,
transition.
yeah. It's really cool. Robert getting frozen to death is pretty cool though. Haha.
It's a cool party.
Wonderful party, isn't it?
Well, that's really cool. I wonder how they did that.
I'm pretty sure these exterior shots are different from the actual interior of the hotel.
Yeah, because I know the exteriors that it's like a real hotel, right? And then the interiors are sets.
I
Because he
think so, yeah.
purposefully because if I remember correctly, I read that he like purposely designed it to be like something's off about every room that you see.
Yeah, I think it was supposed to.
How
He was
many
supposed to give.
vegetables do you need for one meal, lady?
Um, yeah, you got to ration it out. You're there for the whole winter.
Also,
But
gross. You're not even gonna
gross.
cook them or anything. You're just gonna dump them in the bowl.
I think she's preparing to cook them. Um,
I also just don't
but
like pears.
yeah, the layout of the hotel, it's supposed to give the sense that the inside is bigger than the outside, kind of like a TARDIS. Uh, but
What if the doctor showed up at the Overlook?
well, what if you go into one of the rooms in the TARDIS and then you just walk into the Overlook? That would be creepy.
I'd love that. So the one of the other big things they cut in. I'm not upset about that, but it would have been cool to see in either version. Is uh, Jack event initially comes up here to write a play or finish his
Yeah.
play, but then as he becomes obsessed with the Overlook, he decides he wants to write a book about it. And King has like meticulously thought out the entire backstory of this hotel. Like it was, owned by criminals at one point. Um, Everyone that has tried to get it up and running has went bankrupt. Like this has been a cursed place since its inception.
Yeah.
And I don't know
I
if
don't
you
know if it.
remember, but they announced some Shining like prequel series. And
Oh
when
no,
I
I
first
didn't.
heard that, yeah, it was one of those like 6,000 things that JJ announced. Back I think even
Oh,
before, yeah, they were gonna
I
do that
do remember
Shining
this. Yeah.
prequel, and at first I was like, oh, that sucks. But then I read the book. No, I'd like to see some of that stuff. You could do like a cool crime horror show in this hotel.
Yeah,
Hello,
maybe.
Danny.
Um, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
I would also
Yeah,
wheel away if I saw two little girls staring at me.
exactly.
They changed the hotel from 217 to 237 because the lodge was worried guests would be too afraid to rent the room, so they used a fake room number. That's not a big deal. Ironically, 237 is now their most requested room number. Of course it is. Um, so if this is the scene I think it is, this scene really makes me laugh because apparently she just came in here to tell him it's snowing. Like, did you have a point to this, or did you just want to tell him it's snowing?
Her point was to say hi to her husband. She's just being she's just being friendly. I don't know. Um, I think Shelley Duvall is really good in this movie, and I guess we can mention the elephant in the room with the how she was treated on set. It really sucks. Um, at the same time, she gave a great performance, and I'm not saying that Kubrick should abuse people because he shouldn't, but
My
it
point
is
is,
it's strange when you look at it because this movie is kind of about how men can be abusive towards their wives, and then Kubrick displayed that same behavior in order to get a good performance out of an actress. It's really strange.
Robert. I'll come back to your comment in a second. Um, this is one of my favorite Jack moments. He nails it. My point of view has always
Yeah,
been this is a good movie. It is inexcusable how he treated people. You don't need to treat people like
yeah,
animals to
absolutely.
get a good performance. Jack does nothing wrong here, getting interrupted. Yeah, like you couldn't wait till he's done writing.
Well, I think he could have handled it better. He didn't have to
No,
be
I mean he
this much of a dick.
overreacts, but like I would also be angry if you came in and interrupted my writing.
No, but I hope Robert's being sarcastic when he said he did nothing wrong here. Um, but yeah, no, I mean it goes back to that old Hitchcock quote. I think Alfred Hitchcock once said something like, "Actors are like cattle," and that is very
Ridiculous.
much not the modern look at it. We've moved on since then.
Thank God.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, as meticulous as a director, Hitchcock and Kubrick are, and I appreciate how meticulous he is. I don't think he needed to do like a billion takes of the same thing.
I just think you can be meticulous without being an asshole.
Yeah,
Like, since we're gonna be watching one of his movies next, look at Mike Flanagan. I have to assume he is also a perfectionist just from what I've seen of his work, but I've never heard anybody say anything
seems
bad
that
about the
way.
man.
Yeah, and yeah, to a lesser extent, there's David Fincher. I think more
That's a
people.
great shot of Jack Nicholson. He
Oh,
looks
it's
like he's stoned.
so goddamn creepy. That's one of my favorite shots in the movie.
His
But to a
eyebrows are the
lesser,
scariest part. Like, what are
yeah,
you
he's
doing with
got.
your eyebrows?
That's just naturally his face too. He's just a scary looking guy. Um, but David Fincher, he's had people complain about how many takes of scenes he does, but I've also heard less people. I've heard less horror stories with him compared to working with Kubrick.
I feel like if you hear just a few people complaining, then you can kind of say, well, maybe it's just like your style's not meshing. But when you hear the kind of
Yeah,
stories about what Kubrick did on this movie, it's like, okay, you can
it's
relax.
too
Like,
far.
that's too far.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, Shelley Duvall did an interview in 2021 where she said filming was tough, but that Kubrick was generally kind to her. That's not what I heard.
Okay. I mean, if she herself says that, then I'm inclined to believe it. But I also keep
I
hearing
mean,
a lot of evidence that she was verbally abused. But and she was also losing her hair during filming. That was like the start of her losing her hair.
I mean, people can also look back at things differently, 40 years later.
Yeah. I'm not one to, I didn't experience it. She's the one who experienced it, so I'm not
I
one
mean,
to say that she's wrong
I'm not
about
saying
it.
that she's wrong. If that is how she wants it to be remembered, that is perfectly okay
Yeah,
with me. It doesn't affect my
right.
life.
Exactly. But anyway, bottom line, I think she's very good at playing a more like mousy kind of uh, woman that can't really stand up to her husband. I know that the Wendy in the book is very different. She's a little bit more like she stands up for herself a lot more. Um,
I think the word
but I think
you're going for is better.
not necessarily, not for it's like I keep saying that they're going for two different things. And I think for what this movie's going for, I think Shelley Duvall is like perfect casting for this character. She does a fantastic job. It's crazy to me that people, when this movie came out, she was like panned by the critics,
I
and
mean,
I think she even got a Razzie nomination for her
let's be
performance.
honest. Has there ever been a genre more like misunderstood by critics than the horror genre?
Then horror, yeah. I mean, you have this and The Thing are like the two go-to examples of the '80s where
Well, and
critics
like you have
completely misunderstood.
well, Hellraiser was the same way. That was panned.
Okay, I don't know enough about the reception towards Hellraiser.
This was the scene that is playing in Twister when they go to the drive-in.
The twins,
Of course, you got the hello,
yeah,
Danny.
come and play with us, Danny.
That's the one awkward thing. We'll get to it in Doctor Sleep. In Doctor Sleep, they have the twins there, and they also do the hello, Danny. But because obviously it's different actresses, it sounds weird.
Yes, I thought it sounded all right.
That's
Um,
horrifying.
I hate, yeah, the flashes to their dead bodies is really disturbing. That's why it's more. I think it's an improvement that it's an axe in this version, just because it's a lot more of a visceral, brutal image. that just sticks with you.
Robert
The
Wild, the
Razzie,
Razzie's just sucking. Yeah,
yeah. I
I
mean,
feel
they're
like that
just.
should be a comedy thing that just got taken too far.
I mean, the Razzies have the exact same problem as the Oscars, except it's the opposite end of the spectrum.
I mean, if you want my opinion, just get rid of all of them. They're all equally worthless.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think the Oscars are seen so much of as a joke and just kind of irrelevant that, yeah, I mean, if you got rid of them, no one would care. But
You want your
I
directors to get recognition? Pay them more. Give them more work.
yeah.
I guarantee you at the end of the day, more money means more to them than a little plastic globe.
So I've never seen this pointed out until recently, but there's no cord plugged into this TV. It's just kind of
You're
sitting
right.
there. Yeah, so that lends more credence to the theory that they're all just going crazy. I still don't know if I buy that theory, but that is a weird detail that TV is just sitting there in the middle of the room, unplugged.
This is one of the first horror movies I saw when I was a teenager, when I was really getting the horror genre. It's still genuinely creepy in places. Okay, and I didn't see this
Honestly,
until later.
honestly, this is my favorite horror movie. I was thinking about it while rewatching it. I was like, yeah,
I
you know what?
thought
I
it was
really do love this movie.
Jaws.
Jaws is up there, but opinions change, you know?
This would make probably my top 10, maybe my top 20.
It's definitely in my top five with Jaws and both
Oh,
Exorcist 1 and 3.
my top 5 has been full for 20 years.
Yeah. I
And
don't know if I could
50% of it is
ever.
schlock.
Is this on the 5 out of 5 list, by the way?
Mm,
It better be.
it might be. I know I didn't give it a 5, but I get
Yeah,
outvoted
I would have
sometimes.
expected. I would have expected the others to give it a 5 out of
But to
5.
be fair, I gave it a 4.
No, no, yeah, yeah. You gave it a positive score, which is good. It's just not the right positive score.
It is the correct positive score.
That's got to go higher, bud.
It did
Uh,
not, but
oh, what the fuck?
I'd also have to go back and look and see if we did, and I just forgot to add it because we got Dan for that, and I know at least
Yeah,
he gave it a 5. Would have given it a 5.
he definitely would have given it a 5.
I think my score has also gone up since that review. He kind of made me appreciate this movie in a way I'd never had before.
Hmm.
That's been
Um,
a while, but I want to say at that point when we watched it, I was at a 3.5,
oof,
but
oof,
it's
big
gone
leap.
up to a 4.
Yeah, fair enough.
I hate this
Um,
notion that we should just be okay with adaptations not understanding the material that they're adapting. Like, yes, it is a good movie, but points should still be taken off if you don't understand the material you're adapting.
I just think people should be able to do different things with piece of art they're making. I don't know.
Well, then just make your own piece of art. Like, don't adapt somebody else's work.
Yeah, I think they both. Yeah, but I think they can both stand on their own.
This really
Uh,
captures the unsettling feeling of staying at a large place by yourself. There's so much space, but it was weirdly. I mean, I
yeah,
think that's another reason that this struggles to click with me. Or maybe I'm just crazy. I like being alone. I
I
wouldn't
like
go
being alone.
crazy and chop people up with an axe.
I mean, there's a point. I think if I were in this space by myself for a whole winter, I think I would probably go crazy. Um, but no, I mean, I do find comfort in being alone, but I think the claustrophobic nature of this movie does still affect me.
That's fair.
This is the scene I was talking about earlier. It's just a father talking to his son, but it's so like unsettling. I can't even. put my finger on it.
And I can't tell if they mean it to be that unsettling,
I think they
or
do,
or if
absolutely.
this is just supposed to be a scene showing like he's not completely gone yet.
No, I mean, if you look at Jack Nicholson's performance here, he, I don't think there's any real love for his son here at all. He's has complete contempt for this boy.
You know what? As I'm watching it, I think you're right.
Yeah, he just looks annoyed that he has to talk to him right now. um, but yeah, and the music, like I mentioned earlier, the music is really well done here.
Jack, treat your child better, you asshole.
No,
Oh.
his his family's getting in his way of success. You know, he's on
Well,
that
and
grind.
there is this really interesting thing kind of at the end, kind of when Jack is kind of creeping over that edge of the book, where it's like, no, the Overlook doesn't want Danny, it wants me, right? Like Danny's only special because of me. But at that point, it's like, is that Jack still, or is that the hotel influencing him to feel that way?
Yeah, yeah, because in the book, it's just that the hotel wants people that are shining,
Yeah.
right? I think because in in the Doctor Sleep movie, I think they retroactively say that Jack had the shining. So that's how they explain that.
I'd have to rewatch it, but the idea is that Jack is easier to take over because he doesn't have the shining. And the end goal is to get Danny because he has the shining.
Yeah, I think that was probably the intention in the book, the Shining book. But
No, that is in the book. I don't remember if that's how they play it in Doctor Sleep. I was like half asleep when I
yeah,
watched it.
we'll have to see when we watch it. But are you aware of the evidence that people try to point to that this is Kubrick's confession of faking the moon landing?
I
Because
am not.
it's in this scene. So if you see here, Danny's sweater is Apollo. It says Apollo 11 on it, and when when he walks up to room 237, I think they said that like 237 is like the distance. I don't know what unit of measurement, but between the moon and Earth. And
What?
I don't even think that's actually true. It's just people reaching.
Where the fuck do these people come up with this shit?
Yeah, it's completely crackpot.
Hey, look, it's like the one reference we get to the boiler, and he's making Wendy do it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of that was part of the intention is this Jack is not concerned with any of the actual caretaking chores he has to do. So Wendy just does them all. He's completely just focusing on writing, and he's not actually even writing anything. So he's writing the same sentence over and over.
Well, yeah, because all work and no play make Jack a dull boy.
Yeah, but the explanation for that moon landing theory is some of the funniest things I've heard in bad conspiracy theories.
That's good God.
Yeah, I'd love to watch that documentary at some point just to see the lunatics that they got. Um, it used to bother me here how fast Wendy jumps to immediately thinking that Jack is the one that strangled Danny here. I know that that's about to happen. We're not exactly at that part yet, but I mean, it works because at this point she doesn't think that there are any ghosts here, and she knows, and she deep down
Well,
inside she does not trust this man with her child.
well, keep in mind as well because that's how it is in the book. He has a history of it.
Yeah, and they mention, from what I read in the book, I think it's the same thing where he accidentally dislocates his shoulder.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
yeah,
they kind of glaze over it. Like Wendy just has a piece of dialogue about how he got angry. But the idea is that like 3 or 4 year old Danny was playing in his dad's office and like spilled alcohol on his papers. And Jack came back in drunk, got mad, and like went to pull him off of the floor and dislocates
Yeah.
his shoulder.
Yeah.
And that's the first time that Wendy considers leaving her husband. And Danny is upset because he senses this word divorce that he doesn't understand, but he can tell that like it's a bad thing.
Yeah, and I think um deep down inside there is the more strong Wendy in this version, because deep down inside she doesn't trust Jack, but she's too scared to leave him basically in this
I
version.
forgot how fast this movie moves for a 2.5 hour movie.
Yeah.
Because we're about to get the first Lloyd scene.
Yeah, and we're almost halfway through.
And then we just have another 3 hour movie to go.
Oh boy. I would love to see I'd love to see the deleted scenes to this movie if they ever resurface. I know a lot was cut out. Yeah, I'd like to see that too.
I would be fascinated to see what he cut. I'm shocked it's not on the 4K.
Yeah, they might be buried somewhere. I don't know how easy it is to get a hold of those. I like how dumbfounded Jack looks.
Yeah. Although the one issue I do have with this scene,
yeah,
is it makes no logistical sense how would he have gotten up to room 237, strangled him, and then came back down here to have us fall asleep,
have a dream. I don't know. Maybe
he just like he looks so confused. Like what is happening?
He's like, what? Maybe Wendy thinks it happened earlier in the day.
I do think
I don't know.
I do think this is one of the scenes where I think Wendy comes off a little more unsympathetic, because she just flies off the handle, and like her accusation doesn't have any kind of basis in reality.
Well, it's like I said earlier, she doesn't trust this guy after he dislocated Danny's shoulder.
And I get that, but if you're gonna play with that, it should be kind of like possible that he could have done it. But in the way that it's played in the movie, there's no possible way he could have done it.
It's maybe a little bit of a stretch, yeah. I don't know. I think it still works.
But it leads to one of my favorite scenes in the movie, so it's fine.
Lloyd.
How you doing, Lloyd? There were scenes in the movie in early screenings that were cut out while the movie was in theaters early on. And we complain about finishing movies now.
I think I heard somewhere that there is an international cut of this movie that's a little bit different, so I wonder what scenes are in there that are different from here.
I don't know.
Or if it's maybe just cut down.
Based on other international cuts I've seen of movies, it's probably cut down. Like they probably cut all that, like, the dead twins.
Well, I don't think I would cut that. That's a weird choice to cut.
Well, I'm just saying that a lot of the international cuts that I have seen try to cut a lot of the gore. Unless you're Dawn of the Dead, that just cuts out all the comedy of the movie, and it's really weird. This is his audition tape for the Joker in '89, by the way.
Yeah, he's very I mean, he's creepy in this movie, but he's also just he's kind of funny in a dark way.
And I think what's weird is because this movie is obviously doing something different, but then they'll do something like this where that is line for line dialogue from the book.
Oh, this whole scene?
The whole thing about him having 220s and everything, that is like a line for line from the book.
Yeah, that makes sense for Kubrick. I see him as the type that would only want people to watch the final cut of his movie rather than
So annoying.
any extra material.
Let us see it. Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see it, but can't control it. This actor, I think, is also in a lot of Kubrick movies. I think he's a regular, along with the guy that plays Grady later.
Yeah, this is all line for line from the book.
Okay, even the white man's burden line.
I don't know about. I don't think that one, but like him saying, you're the best goddamn bartender.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that that line would be in the book because that relates to something specific that Kubrick is doing in this movie, for his commentary on.
All right, Noah, take your shot of whiskey.
I don't have whiskey.
Funnily enough, though, in both this and Doctor Sleep, the best scenes in both movies are the bar scenes.
Yeah, it's maybe my favorite scene in Doctor Sleep.
I think it's the best
One of
scene
my
in that
favorite.
movie. It's
One of
Ian's
my favorite scenes
performance
in
is
this
just
movie.
so good.
We love Ewan McGregor, but everybody, so good. Words of wisdom, Lloyd. Yeah, and the whole women can't live with him, can't live without him also goes back into what Kubrick is trying to do here, where he's making a movie about a man that has utter contempt for his wife, which unfortunately was a lot of men at the time and maybe even still today. Uh, they don't really care about being a good father or a husband. They just care about getting success and achieving the American dream.
I wouldn't touch one hair on his goddamn little head. I love the little son of a bitch. Robert, I love deleted scenes and extended cuts, but at the same time, I've seen movies where I love where later a deleted scene think, ah, damn, I wish they didn't cut the. Sometimes I don't agree. If the movie is good, a deleted scene that should be in the movie isn't going to affect my enjoyment of that movie.
Yeah, I mean, if the final cut's still good, then if I can see why they cut something out, then I can live with that. I think it's a case by case basis. Because as we talked about with Aliens, I think there's some important scenes that you need in the theatrical cut.
Well, and I,
But
I
that
think
should,
it makes it a better movie.
yeah, at least a few scenes I think could have been put in the theatrical cut. But here's where he talks about, I did hurt him one time.
Oh, it is exactly like in the book.
It is, yeah. But you can tell in this version, he has no remorse.
Yeah.
He's just like, ah, stupid little shit. I
Runs
like
so
Jack's
dumb with.
reaction. I like Jack's reaction to her saying this. She's like, are you out of your fucking mind?
I love his reaction to her all the time. Like, we talked over about that scene earlier where she came in to just say, "Oh, it's snowing." He's just like, "What do you
Yeah.
want me to do about it?"
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen. Have you ever seen the deep fake edits of this movie with Jim Carrey's face on Jack
Yeah,
Nicholson?
I have.
It's it's weirdly fitting.
I mean, that's not who I would picture as Jack, but it would be. I don't think it would be terrible.
Do you think he could have played the book version of Jack a little bit more sympathetic?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah, because I think Jim Carrey tends to play a lot more sympathetic characters.
he's good at playing like he's deranged, but like you feel bad for him.
Yeah, exactly. Even in his more dramatic roles, he tends to be a more sympathetic character.
I'd love to see the alternate reality with this movie where it was Christopher Reeve instead of Jack Nicholson, since that's who Stephen King. Ooh.
Ooh.
Now I'm kind of upset we didn't get that.
I'm glad we got this movie, but if there was a more book accurate version with Christopher Reeve, I think that's a really good casting choice actually.
One
Yeah,
thing
like
I don't.
this makes no sense to me if Dick and everyone else in the movie is just crazy.
This is another thing I don't like is that instead of like Jack or Danny's voice, because in the book Danny purposely calls him, and like you hear Dick, please come, we're in danger. Dick, please come. It's just this really loud, irritating squeal, and
Oh, I think this is
Scatman
really
making this really funny face.
See, when I first watched this movie, I thought that was really unsettling. I thought that was really disturbing. I can see why you'd think it's funny though, but I think
It zooms in too close on this goopy looking face that he's making.
And another thing I like about it is
And then the
it
kid
goes
is like
back.
having a seizure.
Yeah, well, it goes back to the technique that Kubrick is using in this movie, where he's a lot more subtle with the supernatural elements, and he's
But
leaving
he
the
had them
audience.
talking telepathically earlier. It's already in
No,
the movie.
no, but yeah, it's in the movie, but I think you can still infer from that scene what's happening.
I
Like
mean,
he's
you can, but
they're
you've already
communicating.
put it in the movie. Just do it. Go all the way with it.
Well, no, but I appreciate it doing. I appreciate the movie doing it visually, rather than just spelling it out for you.
I think if you didn't have that scene of him talking to him telepathically at the beginning, I'd be more okay with it. Also, that is the greenest bathroom.
Before we get to the reddest bathroom later.
So I didn't notice it when I watched Doctor Sleep, but I did catch a Doctor Sleep deleted scene on YouTube where they actually redo the bathroom scene, but this time it's with Jack as Lloyd.
Oh, oh, the bathroom scene with Grady.
Yeah.
This also freaked me out when I first watched it.
This is a freaky scene in the book too, because it's kind of similar. Um, and then he's like, "No, I didn't actually see anything. The little shits just convinced me that I did." Rubber Wild, I love the out of nowhere nudity with that slow reveal, that nude portrait in the room. Always, yeah, like, and where is
Yeah,
he?
he's in he's in his house. For some reason, he has got naked women on his wall, though.
It was a '70s thing.
Yeah.
I don't
In the
like
book,
that look
does
Jack's giving.
yeah, that's really creepy. But in the book, does Jack make out with this woman?
Think so. No, because
That's
he no, because he enters the room and he has this intense feeling of dread, and he can see
yeah,
somebody behind the shower curtain, and so he
yeah.
leaves, but then he convinces himself that he never actually saw anything.
Okay. Because I was gonna say that sounds if he did that, that sounds really out of character for that version.
No, yeah,
This
the Jack
version,
in the book is very much like I want to have my family and like be there for them.
yes. This version is the exact opposite.
I always forget about the explicit nudity here, probably because I always try to block out what's coming up. Yeah, it's gross.
Well, even before she turns into a witch, like I don't know, I think it's mostly the music in this scene is like really disturbing.
No, I mean like you're clearly not supposed to enjoy this.
No, because when I first watched this, I was like, I don't know what's about to happen, but something bad's about to happen.
Something
Sure
bad's gonna
enough.
happen, folks.
Oh God, that makeup.
And I think this is another thing I have with this Jack is like, really, you just see a naked woman and that's your first instinct. You don't stop thinking, hey, aren't we
He's
supposed to be alone up here?
he's
That's
he's
great
horny
makeup
as
work.
hell. Yeah. It's really good makeup.
Danny, stop having a seizure.
I don't know why, but she kind of reminds me a little bit of Henrietta from Evil Dead 2.
Robert Wild, the only scene where an actor probably insisted on doing more takes.
Well, they probably did like 80 takes of this scene.
Oh God, that's the stuff that would be miserable. Have to like be in that makeup.
Yeah. Yeah, for that long. Oh my god. And you have to kiss Jack Nicholson.
And King has backstory for like all of the ghosts that you see.
Um, are all the ghosts in this movie in the book as well?
Off the top of my head, yes. The only one that I'm having trouble placing is that weird dog suit guy that you see. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be from the book, because there is a guy in a wolf mask in the book, but I don't know if that's what that's supposed to be. But they couldn't get it; they just changed it a little bit.
Sounds like maybe that's a nod to that, but I could be wrong.
And Dick has this whole thing of like, why am I helping myself for a couple of white people that I just met? And then he thinks of Danny, and he's like, oh, you know, this kid needs me. We have this ability that we share.
Yeah.
Yeah, the miniseries Wolf Mask is hysterical. The book also has way more uses of the N-word than this movie does.
There's only like one I can think of in this
No,
movie.
when Jack goes crazy, like him in the hotel use it constantly.
Ooh. Turns out Jack is actually a racist.
I mean, it was the 80s.
Well, I'd assume
Or
the
no,
book was written in
70s.
the 70s, yeah, because this
Yeah.
movie comes out in 1980.
No, yeah, because that's his third novel. Like that's the thing I don't think people talk about enough. Is like that's only his third published novel.
Pretty impressive.
And by then, this is the second King adaptation. Because I think Carrie comes out before those.
Carrie was definitely late 70s, maybe mid 70s.
And I think Salem's Lot had an adaptation already at this point.
Robert, if Tarantino directed this, there would have been more Edwards.
If Noah directed this, that's all the dialogue would be.
Oh no, that's not true. I won't take any more of this defamation. So here we've got some more abusive parenting from Jack, where he's just blaming everything on Danny.
So, okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Thinking logically, there's only 3 people that could have done it. And we know if it wasn't 2 of them. If you're in denial about the hotel being haunted, there's only one logical explanation.
But but
he's in denial.
Is he in denial, or because he's kind of every time he sees an hallucination, he kind of embraces it. Like he's talking to Lloyd, he's making out with that woman, he dances at the party.
That's true. I don't know. It's hard to tell with this.
To me, it reads like he doesn't want to admit to Wendy that he knows it's haunted, and he doesn't give a shit about Danny.
Yeah, I can see
that.
And
right here is one of the like go-to scenes where he's like, I've had my chance to accomplish something, and you're getting in my way.
It's pretty insane and awesome that we got Stephen King adaptations from De Palma, Stanley Kubrick, John Carpenter, and Cronenberg.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of them understood the material better than the others.
But they're all top-tier directors.
They are. And only one of them had to abuse their actor.
Oh. Well, I don't know. Maybe there were some horror stories from the Brian De Palma set.
Yeah, that one's not talked about enough. I'm excited to eventually talk about the Carrie book. It's pretty good.
Yeah, we might do that sometime. I
It
always
is
use
a strong debut.
I always use the gif of Jack knocking that stuff over.
This movie has so many perfect, like, just reaction gifs.
Yeah.
I
Whenever
used the
I'm
one of him in the bar, like where he's like clicking with Lloyd.
Yeah, when he's like raising his eyebrows. Yeah, even though he's like I said before, even though he's creepy in this movie, sometimes he's very expressive and arguably pretty cartoony a lot of the time in this movie.
No, yeah, this Jack gets a joyful glee out of what he's about to do.
Which is why I think he was the perfect at the time, the perfect choice for the Joker.
Yeah, I mean, my problem with the Joker, just like this movie, isn't the performance; it's the take.
Fair enough.
Gangster Joker's just not interesting to me. One thing I will say about Stephen King, because there are a couple of sex scenes in the book between Wendy and Jack. Stephen King sucks at writing sex. It's always uncomfortable to read.
Mm. I mean, I know that there's a notorious example with that in
And
it. Uh,
I'm not even gonna talk on that. We'll get
yeah,
canceled.
we'll get canceled for that. Um, what do you
Jack
think
is
of?
good as this Joker. I don't want to say he's overpraised, but his performance and stuff like this, and one flew over the cuckoo's nest is 10 times more impressive. Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it's a conversation for maybe when we do our '89 commentary, but I
I mean,
really
let's
like
be
that
honest.
Joker.
He's good in that movie, but he's also just kind of playing Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, and I'm fine with a Joker that's just Jack Nicholson because I think Jack Nicholson can play the Joker. But what do you think of all this stuff with the 1920s party? Like all of these ghosts here. Is that something that's in the book or is that an
Yes.
addition? Okay.
No, there are mentions of a party.
Okay.
And
Because
I think that what's weird about this movie is there's scenes that he takes directly from the book. And then there's other things where he goes completely helter skelter with them. And I'm just like, what are you doing?
yeah, well, it seems to me like he's kind of going for a different thing with the party stuff in here because
No, he definitely
it's
is.
it's mentioned that the hotel is built over an Indian burial ground. So that implies that it's land that was taken from natives by white white Americans, white settlers, and this is kind of just they're living up the lavish life over all the stuff they've taken from others. And that's as we can see, that's Jack doesn't really care about that and he just wants to bask in that success of the other
No,
people
yeah.
here.
The party
Yeah.
stuff in the book is just kind of background fixture.
Yeah, I'm interested to read how that plays in the book because it seems like there's a clear thing that Kubrick wants to do with this in this movie, but I'm
We're
not
about,
sure how it plays in the book.
we're about to get to the other best scene in this movie.
Yeah.
No, I'd really like to see your thoughts on the book since you come at it from a different angle. You started with the movie.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, see this first too. Although it wasn't like it's a popular movie, but it wasn't a major success when it first came out. I think at this point more people know the movie than the book. I could be wrong about that though.
I have also heard that Misery is one of the best. Carrie is also really close to the book. They just changed the framing, which works better for a cinematic experience. This hotel is very much a hotel of extremes. You get the all green
Or-
bathroom, the all red bathroom, the all blue
Yeah,
bathroom.
exactly. Where's the blue bathroom? I don't remember that one.
I made that one up.
I was gonna say.
It doesn't. It's not as impressive when you just list two. There should have been an
Um,
all blue bathroom.
this is another scene that I see people point to as the best and most disturbing scene in the movie, and it's just two people talking. You know, it's not. There's no like frightening imagery in it. It's just
Well,
two guys talking and one guy talking about how he had to correct his family and
just the way he delivers it is so terrifying. And that's always been
yeah.
my thing is like you don't need to make your character an asshole to be scary. You just need to make it creepy the way he acts.
Yeah, but
Oh, I didn't
yeah,
know people hate the De Palma movie. I didn't know that.
oh, okay, yeah, I didn't know. I really like the De Palma movie, but I've never read the book. But yeah, I do see where you're coming from on that. And I think this movie definitely prioritizes being a horror experience.
Yeah.
But I also think that doesn't mean that there isn't interesting character stuff in it. It's just not really the same character stuff that the book tries to do.
Well, it's just
Uh,
like, for example, with this Jack, it's like, oh,
yeah.
who could have guessed that this guy would go crazy and try to kill his wife and son with an axe?
No, it's not surprising, but I don't think it's supposed to be surprising. You know, I think Jack is a very compelling character in this movie and very uh, not just well written but well performed. Um, and he is a bastard. He is a terrible person, but I think he, what I talked about earlier about his the fact that he just does not care about his family and just he's just a freak that just wants to live in this pleasure land forever.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
and
that's fine.
and no, but I do see like why that won't appeal to a lot of people, and I see why you can find the book version way more compelling because it's a little bit it's something that you can like sink your teeth into easier and
Noah, you are the caretaker. You've always
you've
been the caretaker.
you've always been the caretaker. That I kind of want to wait until the end to talk about that. The whole there's another theory I'll bring up at the end.
Man, the way the Reds just pop in this transfer.
Yeah.
I don't like the look on that guy's face.
No. That guy also is another Kubrick regular. He's in A Clockwork Orange. I think he's Alex's dad.
Oh, I haven't seen that movie in so long. I haven't even watched. I have it on 4K. I haven't even watched that 4K.
I need to get his movies on 4K. I still don't have that or this or
It's probably my
2001.
favorite Kubrick film. A Clockwork Orange, not a 2001.
Yeah, 2001's mine.
Yeah, because
This
you like
might be,
boring movies.
except it's not boring.
This
You just gotta watch it. But this might be a close second for me. My
is easily
favorite
second,
ranking.
and then third, and it's such a deep ranking because this is all the Kubrick I've seen. Is Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket actually might. It's more in the middle for me. I like that movie, but I don't love it.
I'm that basic bitch that thinks that movie gets really boring after you leave the boot camp.
No, I do too. Yeah, that's what I had. I think it's fine. I think it's still pretty good after the boot camp, but the boot camp stuff is the best, and it starts on such a high, and then it just kind of peters out after that.
Those are
Uh,
the only three Kubrick movies that I've seen that I can think of off the top of my head.
yeah, my number three would be maybe Doctor Strangelove. The three those three
I thought
kind
you were
of
going
are
to say Doctor
interchangeable for me.
Strange for a second. I was like, wait a minute.
Nah, Doctor Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb.
I do want to see
It's the
that.
full. It's really funny. It's a great movie.
Jack, what are you doing with your face?
He's going crazy. Yeah, I don't know if this is my favorite scene, but I can totally see why it's some people's favorite scene.
It's my second favorite. I still like the first bar scene more. I love a good monologue. That's why I like
Yeah, it's
Flanagan. He gives all of his actors great monologues.
I love it. Yeah, I love it when directors just they have great actors on their movies and they just dedicate a whole scene to
do you
their
think that
performance.
do you think that Kubrick corrected his actors?
Oh God. Oh no.
Because what what is creepy about this scene is the subtext. He
Yeah.
says something, but you know what he actually means because you saw it earlier, and just the way he talks about it.
There was a detail I forgot to mention in that scene is if you remember at the beginning of the movie, the guy that runs the hotel talks about Grady, but he says a different name.
Does
In
it?
that scene, it's Delbert Grady, but for it's like something else Grady. So there's two different Gradys in this movie. Um, and he also says that his daughters that he killed were 8 and 9 or something like that. But in the movie, they're clearly twins. So there's some weird detail with that.
This also makes me laugh.
Oh, Red Rum.
Red Rum, Red Rum. Apparently, this kid thought he was making a comedy movie.
Oh, really?
Like, apparently, he's the only one that Kubrick protected.
Oh, that makes sense. He's just a little kid.
But I would also love to know how you do that. Like, how do you shoot some of the stuff that he has to do and be like, oh, it's a comedy picture.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, I
we're
also appreciate them as two different things, but I can criticize Kubrick feeling that he needed to change the themes of the book to make it a cinematic experience.
I
Just
just
be,
I
just
mean,
because it's a good movie doesn't mean it's above criticism.
no, and yeah, you're right. I see where you're coming from with your criticisms. I just think I don't see why he has to replicate the same themes as the book. What was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought on that one.
Well,
Robert
I
brought
just
it
mean
back to
like
that debate.
I just mean like okay, it would be like if you made a Batman movie that didn't have the fear motif like or vengeance or anything that you associate with Batman,
Batman 66?
which is terrible. But
No. I'm fine with different versions of different things. I don't know how else to explain it. Yeah.
and I mean, I'm not even like I don't even hate this movie. It's a good movie, but I think you can acknowledge that a
Yeah.
good movie is a bad adaptation.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if I'd say it's a bad adaptation, just because I don't think an adaptation needs to be the same. Like I said before,
Oh,
but I mean,
read the
then I
book
guess
and
we're
get back to me.
no. I mean, I will, and then I guess we're
Jack,
arguing
what are
over
you
this.
doing?
We're arguing over the semantics of what an adaptation, the definition of adaptation, which I don't know if we want to get into that.
That's fine. Jack, what are you doing? You bastard.
Yeah, I was gonna say something about Danny, I think, but then you took my train of thought off the rails, Robert. No, but yeah, I mean, as far as the stuff that Danny the actor has to do in this movie. I don't think he has to. I mean, it's dark material, but if you think about it, like what they shoot, um, like the scene of him seeing the blood from the elevator, it's just through editing. Like he doesn't really see. I don't think the actual kid saw anything really horrifying on set.
True.
So it just kind of goes to show the movie magic there. How they're able to make you think that a kid is experiencing these horrifying things.
I do know what the meaning
Yeah.
of the word adaptation is.
See, I'm hesitant to have this debate with you, but Robert isn't.
Which is funny because Robert was the one that didn't want to argue.
Yeah.
Scatman, don't go.
Scatman's gotta go.
Apparently he's in Transformers too. Austin was telling me he's in G1.
Oh, really?
But it's also movies like this that make me laugh when people complain about like too many adaptations and remakes in Hollywood. It's been that like adaptations have kept Hollywood alive for 50 years. The problem is we just forgotten how to do it properly.
No, I mean, some of the greatest movies of all time are book adaptations.
Or remakes.
And which remakes would you be thinking of?
The Thing, The Fly. There's that 70s Invasion of the Body Snatchers that's up there.
Yeah. I don't know. Those are specific cases.
Okay.
I think a lot of those remakes specifically are they're successful because they try to do something different.
Okay, but they're still remakes.
No, but what I'm saying is the trap that a lot of other remakes fall into is that they're too hesitant on calling back to the original. Like they rely on your knowledge of the original. You know what I mean?
Well, but that goes into what I was saying. It's just that we've forgotten how to do that.
No, yeah, you're probably right about that. The vast majority of movies made back in the golden age of cinema were adaptations of prior works.
I don't think Robert says. I don't. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
I don't think it's hyperbolic to say most remakes are bad, though. Yeah, I mean,
it just depends. Like, I can also think of just as many remakes that I've enjoyed.
I think I can think of a lot of good remakes for sure. I don't know if I'd call
people just like.
I think it's the exception of The Thing. I don't think I would call any remake that I've seen one of the greatest movies of all time.
No, but it doesn't need to be. Right, I just think people get it stuck in their head. People get it stuck in their head about bad remakes because then it's remaking something that you like but badly, and they forget about the good ones.
Yeah, but I think the problem is there's more examples of bad ones.
But are there?
Yeah, I think so.
That people actually cared about?
You got the RoboCop remake, the Total Recall remake. We're getting into a whole different conversation.
Well, I mean, it's just snow, driving down the road on snow.
But now they're watching Roadrunner. What I wouldn't want to see another film version of this, and I don't think they will make another film version of
the way to do this, if you ever do it again, is miniseries on streaming.
Another miniseries.
There was definitely an epidemic in the mid 2000s with the sheer amount of horror remakes. Most of them were just bad. Just watch the Kirby scene from Scream 4. But I mean, even looking back at like what I call the what is that? What is Michael Bay's production? Platinum Dunes era. The only one of those that sticks out to me as aggressively bad was Nightmare.
Yeah.
Their Texas Chainsaw is pretty good. I like their Friday remake. From what I remember of Amityville Horror, it was okay. I like the Halloween remake. It's not Platinum Dunes, but that's another remake.
Well, the Halloween remake's bad.
No,
Um, yeah, I think the way to
it's
do
just
this,
different, Noah.
yeah, but sometimes what you have to do different things that are good. Um,
No, Noah, it's just different. I'm just
yeah,
messing with
different.
you.
You got to be different and good,
But
obviously.
it is. It is good.
Nah, that's a
Yeah,
conversation for another time.
that's going to be an
Uh,
interesting commentary. I'm going to be on an island.
uh,
That's
who
okay.
says
I'm
we're
used to
doing?
be.
Who
Oh, we're
says we're
doing that
doing a
right after
commentary?
Doctor Sleep.
Yeah, I'm going to bed after Doctor Sleep. You kidding me? Here we're
Come on,
at the
Fat.
iconic. We're at the iconic all work and no play, make Jack a dull boy scene. Um,
Yeah. Or what is
this is
it in The
something
Simpsons? All beer or no beer and all work.
something and no beer make Homer something something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing is I don't remember what he says first. Um, is that so? This is something also in the book.
I don't think so. Because he's
Oh, okay.
purposely writing. No, because he's purposely writing a play, and Danny is
Okay.
able to tell that Jack has been taken.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of turns into more of like avoiding Jack.
Okay, because I think I'd point to this scene as an example of how the movie is maybe a little bit more popular than the book at this point, because this is such an iconic scene.
And that just makes me sad.
Eh, I think the book's still popular.
That one says Jace.
Yeah, there's some typos. There's one that
What
says
kind
all
of
work and
writer are you, Jack?
clearly he's very mediocre. He's very untalented.
Whoa,
Uh,
whoa, Robert. 13 Ghosts is not bad. Get out of here.
there's one that says all work and no play makes Jack a dull bot that showed up earlier.
But that's what I mean as well is does it nobody remembers 90% of that list that you just said.
Uh,
You're just wrong on 13 Ghosts though.
but I think that I don't want to stay on this topic for so long, but I think what Robert's getting to is that there's so much of those that pile up that people remember that's what gives people the impression that there are mostly bad remakes because there are so many bad ones. It's not that there are any notoriously bad ones, and there are some notoriously bad ones, but it's more just like the the sheer like amount of them.
The
You know,
the impressive thing is that this was done on a typewriter. Can you imagine having to sit there and like type that?
yeah, and like different font, different not different fonts, but like different page layouts and paragraphs.
That would suck ass.
This is one of my favorite scenes
No, this is also a good one.
for Jack's acting here.
Yeah. No, like he carries this movie like hands down for me.
He gives the best performance, inarguably. It's funny because I think at the time a lot of what critics complained about was him, and I don't know if it was necessarily performance or kind of what we were talking about earlier, how he's not very sympathetic from the beginning, which was off-putting for a lot of people. Uh, but
And I love the sound choice here.
so yeah, so creepy. And
Although
as we
last
talked,
thing,
as
oh go ahead.
sorry, as we talked about earlier, critics, especially in the '80s, do not understand horror, and they have a lot of bad takes of horror movies.
You know what we should do though at some point? Bad
Yeah.
remake month.
Oh no. I mean, that's not a bad idea. I just don't want to suffer through that.
I'm gonna find the worst of the worst to make you watch. I like the like red filter on the camera there.
Yeah, it's the blood splashing onto the lens. It's really cool. I notice more on this viewing how a lot of the subjects in certain shots are directly in the center of the frame, kind of like a Wes Anderson movie. And I don't know if you've seen that edit on YouTube, but someone made like The Shining and the Grand Budapest Hotel mashup, and it actually really fits.
I have not seen that. I don't know
I'll
enough
have to.
about Wes Anderson.
Oh yeah, you've only seen like two of his movies.
Like literally two.
Yeah,
His newest one and
that's
that
right.
Fox movie.
I showed you Fantastic Mr. Fox. Yeah. The other edit of this movie, the trailer edit of this movie that I love is The Shining is a romantic comedy. You've seen that, right?
No, I'm gonna have to watch that.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to send
Uh,
you that. You can watch that later. It's
so
really
I'm gonna contradict myself. As much as I don't like this because of the take on a character that I already like, but this is my favorite kind of horror villain that enjoys what he's doing.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
Nicholson must be having so much fun right now.
yeah, and I think that's a lot of reason why this take works for me is Nicholson's having so much fun. Um, and yeah, and that's also one of my favorite types of villains is I like the sympathetic villain here and there, like Mr. Freeze and the animated series. But it's also fascinating to watch a villain that is just so completely despicable and wrapped up in his
But
villainy that he just
Noah,
revels in his villainy.
but Noah, has it ever occurred to you that he agreed to take care of the Overlook Hotel until May the 1st?
Oh, it's occurred to me. And yeah, and
And
another
this is
villain
this
like
big
that.
scene where you can tell that I don't think this is all performance. I think this is probably like the 600th take they've done of this. And Shelley Duvall is just like, I want to be done, please.
Oh, she's so worn out. Yeah.
Which I
It
think
feels.
does lead to a little bit of awkwardness because there's no transition. It's just she goes from curious to tired immediately.
Mhm.
This is the scene I quote the most. I'm not going to hurt you. You didn't let me
Gonna
finish my
bash your
sentence. I'm
fucking
going to
brains in.
bash your fucking brains in.
This is the part where he feels the most Jim Carrey to me.
Yeah.
Where he's like, "Give me the bat, Wendy."
Wendy, he's not even near you. What are you swinging at?
I think she's just trying to scare him off. And then eventually she does get a hit on him.
What are you doing with your tongue? I don't like that.
Um, yeah, Grand Budapest Hotel is one of my favorite Wes Anderson movies.
I'll have to watch it.
Yeah, I
God
think you'll like
damn.
that. I haven't seen Asteroid City, so I don't know. I don't know really how you felt about that one, but if you liked Mr. Fox, then I'd check out Budapest Hotel.
Asteroid City was just fine. There wasn't much of a
Yeah, I mean,
narrative.
I hear a lot of people, even people who like Wes Anderson, are kind of down on that. I think maybe his shtick is getting a little old.
He needs to reinvent himself. I also don't buy for a minute that skinny lady here can carry Jack Nicholson across the hotel.
Yeah, I gotta suspend your disbelief a little bit for that.
Because they do this in the book too, but her and Danny have to work together to get him in the freezer.
Yeah, so Danny's just kind of paralyzed at this point.
Yeah, no, like he removes pretty much all of Danny's stuff in this movie. Danny is the one that stops Jack.
Oh, sorry, I'm stretching.
Whoa, it's like 3Ds.
Ooh,
But that's
give me
a
the
Stephen
give me the
King
bad
thing.
job.
That's a Stephen King thing. Is he loves writing kind of coming of age stories.
Yeah, yeah. I think
And the end of the book is very much Danny standing up to what's left of his father.
that's why you can appreciate Doctor Sleep, because that movie it's not a coming of age story really, but it is about Danny,
Overcoming
like
his trauma.
100%.
It's Mike Flanagan's favorite subject, family trauma, but not
Trauma.
done in that like shitty Blumhouse way that we joke about.
It's not as good as Halloween Ends?
Well, I mean, nothing is. I mean, you ready for that commentary?
I'm serious about this. I'd rather do that David Gordon Green trilogy than the Rob Zombie movies.
Ooh, I would
I
rather do the first two Halloween Gordon Halloween movies than Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Oh god, this is going to be like a math formula, okay? I would rather do Halloween 2018 over Rob Zombie's either Rob Zombie Halloween movie. But I would rather do Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 over Kills and Ends. But I would rather do any three of those movies than Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
I think I understood that.
I told you it's like an advanced math formula.
Yeah, I just find Rob Zombie's first Halloween. I haven't seen the second one. I find the first one just really.
The second one makes the first one look like a masterpiece.
That's what I've heard. I find his first one really hard to watch, and at least Kills is not a good movie, but it's at least entertaining to me.
No, Kills falls into that my realm of this is shit, but it's really funny.
It's a lot like the original Halloween 2, where it's not a great movie, but it's fine just as a turn your brain off slasher.
And I don't like Halloween 2. I think it's a boring slasher.
That's fair enough. I like it.
Go check it out, Wendy. God, the way she runs with that knife is so dumb.
Yeah, she's gonna stab herself.
Put a jacket on, you idiot.
She's only out for a little bit. Who cares?
I mean, I would think she would about freezing to death.
It's totally fine when a wife assaults her husband. This movie's woke.
Loomis carries Halloween 2. I mean, he carries Halloween 1. He's just not in it enough.
I don't agree with that. I mean, he's great in Halloween 1. He's one of the best parts of it.
Oh no, he sabotaged their only way out.
Oh no.
It's a really good thing that Danny had a seizure to call Dick, and then he's not going to do anything for the rest of the movie.
Yeah. Kubrick just took away the focus from Danny because I guess he's more interested in how low Jack can go.
I've always been of two minds of
Although,
is it that, or is it just he didn't want to have to shoot anything that could scare the kid?
well, I don't know, but what I will say is I will give Danny more credit at the end because I think he's pretty clever how he outsmarts Jack at the end.
Oh, and I don't know if I told you this but I'm gonna fact check myself. But the kid that plays Danny in this is in Doctor Sleep as a cameo.
I heard he has a cameo, but I don't know where it is. So you'll have to point it out when we get to it, I guess.
I don't even remember now. I'm looking it up.
Okay. Now, the other big thing that kind of disproves the no ghost theory is what opens this door for Jack.
I guess he's a teacher now in real life.
Oh, okay, cool. Because you see Jack here trapped in the walk-in, and he's talking to Grady, and it's implied Grady opens the door for him. But I've also heard theories that it's Danny who opens the door,
What?
which which doesn't really make any sense because he's not around here.
I think people just need to stop theorizing about this movie because they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, those are people who are desperately out to prove that there's no ghosts in this movie.
I'm gonna send you this photo because it's him in in Doctor Sleep, so we can both keep an eye out for it.
Okay.
Because I can't tell just from that scene. That comb over is the scariest part of this movie. Yeah, Nicholson also looks like he's kind of losing his hair.
I can't tell. Just looking at that image, I can't tell who either of those who he is.
It's probably just like a background blink and you miss it cameo. But it's cool he came
Maybe.
back since he's not an actor anymore.
Yeah, I think this is his only movie role, right?
I think so, yeah. Well, and like I found out that the
That's good.
you've seen 28 Days Later, right?
I have. I watched it with you guys.
I found out that the young girl in that also doesn't act anymore.
Oh, okay.
Because apparently they're bringing Cillian Murphy back.
Oh yeah, they're doing 28 years later.
Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work, but hopefully it's good.
So hopefully. Um. Yeah.
I have my worries that it took them so long to get a script off the ground.
Yeah, and I hear mixed things about the sequel already. The 28 weeks
Mhm.
later.
It's okay. But 28 Days is not one of my favorite like zombie flicks or zombie flicks.
Zombie
Sorry,
in quotes.
sorry, sorry for anyone that likes that movie. It is a good movie. It is not a zombie movie.
The comb over is the scariest part of the movie.
I just read that, Noah.
Oh shit. Did you read it also doesn't make sense how Jack gets out of the freezer if there are no ghosts. Yeah, that's what I was
I
talking
did
about earlier,
not.
Robert.
No, I mean, there's clearly
Yeah.
ghosts. It's the point of both the book and the movie.
Well, it's like I said earlier, I think the idea for this specific version of the story, um, that there aren't any ghosts is really appealing to me, and I think that's more disturbing. I just don't buy any of the evidence I've seen pointing towards it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like to pay attention to those fan theories. Like I have my interpretation of a film. I don't care about conspiracies that might be hidden behind scene number 7 shot 6,000.
Well, and yeah, and with that specific theory, I think I'm open to believing it if there's actual evidence for it.
So what you're saying
Because
is you want to believe.
I want to believe. That's a show I
Do you know
still
what
need
that's
to see.
from? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, X Files.
Robert Wild Torgo literally losing his mind before our eyes. It's true.
Yeah,
He's
it's
gonna
meta.
commit red rum.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
I'm
like if
turning
he
into
thought of this was a comedy, what does he think is gonna this scene is gonna be?
what the red rum.
Yeah, what does he
Yeah,
think
because
this is?
I have no idea.
Yeah, give the kid a real knife.
I hope that's a prop knife.
No, it definitely is. You can see it's not sharp.
Yeah.
It also looks like a more of a mini machete than a knife.
It's funny because earlier when Wendy grabs that knife, there's like other sharper knives hanging up, and for some reason she goes to that one. Like, you could have picked a better knife, Wendy.
Hey Noah, did you know Red Rum?
Red rum.
I'm a little ashamed the first time that I watched this or read the book. I'm a little ashamed how long it took me to figure out what that meant.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't pick up on
Red
it
Rum! Red
until the
Rum!
reveal. I feel like if I read the book first, I probably would have picked up on it.
I know this is supposed to be creepy, but it's just kind of funny. He's holding the knife. Red Rum!
The shot of the camera following the movement of the axe as he chops into the door is
Have,
really cool.
have you seen the outtakes for this scene?
I've seen him like psych himself up to get ready. It's so crazy.
Well,
He's like,
so
Carol,
because he
kill.
was a firefighter before an actor. There's an outtake
Oh.
or an outtake of this where the one of the shots he destroys the entire door in one hit.
It's awesome. Yeah.
The miniseries tries to recreate that, but with a mallet, and it looks really goofy.
How do you break open a door with a mallet?
I don't know. This act scene is taken directly from the Fainted Carriage and old silent movie, says Robert Wilde. Oh,
Oh, cool.
I am not very
I mean,
knowledgeable about silent films. That is an era I struggle with.
I need to catch up more on silent films. Um, like I said earlier, I think maybe the mallet maybe works more in the book, but I think the axe really works better for a movie. It's just
I
more
just
of a visceral kind of image.
I just think it's all about execution.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
You
maybe
just
it would
you
have
would
been
just shoot
weaker.
scenes to shrink the mallet. Like there's something inherently scary about the idea of him just sitting there beating her to death with a mallet.
Yeah, and when you say that, I think you're right about that. But at the same time, it's hard to visualize in a threatening way.
Yeah, but I mean, you can have some fancy tricks to work around that.
It's more about like putting myself in that experience, getting beaten to death by a mallet. That is probably a worse death, a longer death than just getting chopped up with an axe.
Is there a lore reason that he calls himself Johnny in this upcoming scene?
Well, it's a reference to Johnny Carson. That's the lore reason.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I know
Yeah.
like the out of universe reason, but I've always just wondered why he calls himself that in the like. Is this
I think
character a fan of Johnny Carson?
I think he's maybe a fan of Johnny Carson.
And it's
But
also
also,
crazy what becomes iconic from this movie. Like, this might be one of the most iconic horror scenes in history.
yeah, absolutely. Well, and also thinking about that, I know uh, a lot of Jacks. A lot of Johns go by Jack. So
Well,
maybe
damn, maybe I should change my nickname.
his real name is Jonathan Torrance, and he just goes by Jack. So it's a
I'm gonna
double
start
meaning
going by
that way.
Jack. Or about a Violet just looks goofy. We search it. I don't agree. I think it all comes down to execution. You can make that scary.
I do think Robert has a point, though. We do associate it too much with cartoons. I'm just gonna think of Looney Tunes when
But
someone gets whacked on the head with a mallet.
but you can make that scary by being it's scary that this good guy is doing something awful with a tool that is normally like a cartoon toy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it could be executed well. I think it was a good choice to go with an axe just for like visceral horror reasons, like in
Yeah.
the moment, getting
Well, and I
scared.
buy this version of Jack using an axe more than I do book
Yeah, this
Jack.
is a much more brutal, much more unlikable Jack.
I don't like the choice to kill Halloran though, but that's just like a fanboy
Uh,
thing.
Robert, is it hyperbolic to say I think more people now associate the phrase "Here's Johnny" with this movie than Johnny Carson? No, I think
I
you're
don't
right.
think so.
There's a
I don't
cameo
want to
from
be a
my.
dick to Johnny Carson, but like, does anybody our age even remember Johnny Carson or like
I
seen
mean, I
Johnny
think
Carson?
to be fair, and I'm young, so this is probably the reason, but I did know "Here's Johnny" from The Shining. I thought that was just a quote from The Shining before I knew about Johnny Carson.
And Jurassic Park stole
Um,
this scene.
Here's a cameo from my cat.
Kitty, kitty.
Hey, Minnie.
No, I don't think that's hyperbolic. I think like those late night talk shows more than anything don't carry from generation to generation. Like each generation is gonna have its own night shows that they watch. Like for me, it was Jay
Yeah.
Leno and David Letterman. I don't know what it is now, but
Well, now that stuff is fading out, I think. I don't think young people watch late night shows. I certainly don't.
I liked Conan.
I like what I've seen of clips of Conan. I never watched him when he had his show, but he's probably the funniest late night host in modern times.
But I was always more of like a Jay
I
Leno and Dave Letterman guy.
I like Dave Letterman. I don't like Stephen Colbert or the Jimmys.
I liked Colbert when he was just doing that like news show on Comedy Central.
I like the Colbert Report. I don't like his late show.
But even then, I
Like,
always preferred Jon Stewart. You all right
yeah,
there? You losing it? Are you hearing? Are you hearing Lloyd?
Lloyd. Hey, Lloyd.
That's what you should have named your cat.
That'd be weird. A female cat named Lloyd. Come here, Lloyd.
So one thing I do like about this scene is just how long it is. I like that it's kind of drawn out as like this place is so isolated. That is
It's
true.
technically, yeah, black guy who dies first trope. I guess
Um,
yeah. It's crazy how far we are into the movie before we get any deaths. I guess it's not a slasher, so it makes sense. And this is really the only death in the movie too.
other than Jack himself.
I guess yeah, this is the only kill. Well, I mean, Jack gets killed by the
They
weather, but
they killed my boy.
yeah, I mean, it's sad. Got an emotional reaction out of you,
Why
which
did he stick his tongue out like that? What are you doing?
he's a gremlin. I don't know.
No,
Danny,
I'm of two
Danny
minds of
boy.
this. It kind of works, but I also hate that Halloran came back for no reason. Danny,
Danny.
Danny boy,
Well, he came back
to
because
die.
Danny was in trouble. But he
No,
no,
I
but he
mean
came back because
I know why he came
yeah,
back. I'm saying he doesn't do it like him going back was pointless.
yeah. I mean, it's sad to see him die. I don't know. I like him. That's why I'm sad to see him die.
I mean, he's my favorite character. He's one of my favorite characters in this story.
So I don't know. I haven't heard any explanation of this bear. I have no idea what this means.
Oh, I'm sorry. He came to bring the snowmobile. Glad they killed him off for that. I still I don't understand why this is here. Like I don't. What is that?
No, because it's arguably goofier than it is scary.
Yeah, and I don't want to see that dude's ass.
No.
You all right over there?
Oh yeah, I'm fine. What's up?
You looked like you were having a heart attack or something.
Just a little shaky for some reason. I don't know what's going on. I think it's the coffee because I don't drink it that often.
You weakling.
Not a caffeine addict.
I am, and let me just tell you, the caffeine withdrawals suck.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It is what it is.
Yeah, once again, the sound design is just stellar. See,
Yeah.
that's why I'm tempted to watch this with headphones.
Take your medicine, boy. Look at you now, boy.
Jack Torrance is a wrestler.
Well, they're gonna remake this tomorrow with The Rock as Jack Torrance.
Oh, it's terrible. Don't say
Can you
that.
imagine, like, 6 foot, 300-pound Jack Torrance?
I'm just a writer from Maine.
That's like when they cast Arnold as just a normal person. It's like, are you though?
When Arnold Schwarzenegger plays a doctor in Junior.
I haven't seen that. Daddy!
I don't think you really need to.
Jack, nobody needs to know that. Why are you yelling that you're coming? Yeah, this is such a lamer ending.
I like it. The other thing that kind of disproves the no ghost theory is that why would Wendy have the exact same delusion of the blood in the elevator?
No, I
as
mean
Dan?
the no ghost thing is just factually false.
It is, yeah. I just thought I'd bring up all of the arguments I have against it as they come up. I love
Dick.
I love the guy that's like cool party.
Oh, wait till I show you what he looks like in the miniseries.
Oh, really? I'm do they screw him up?
You're gonna laugh really hard at this.
Oh no, we got another live reaction coming. He just looks like a deadite.
He looks like it's cartoon character,
He looks like like a goblin from.
like Scooby Doo or something.
Yeah, he looks
When
like
my
a villain from
mom,
a haunted house.
when my mom read this book when she was a young teen, her cat jumped on a chair behind her and startled her while she was reading the 217 scene, and she literally threw the book across the room. No, the book has a really powerful way of just like sucking you into the story.
Yeah, I really liked how, from what I remember, I really liked how King described the scenes of when Danny had visions at the beginning of the book.
Well, and the book really takes its time. They don't even get to the Overlook until 100+ pages in.
Yeah, I think around the time they got to the Overlook is when I stopped.
You mean you tell me you read 100 pages and went, I'll get back to it later.
Like I said, I was busy with schoolwork and stuff, and I had to return it. I had to return it to the library.
You motherfucker.
Yeah, and I know you don't love that they don't really do much with Danny at the end, but I do think the way that he outsmarts Jack here is pretty clever.
No, I do like that at the end it's Danny that outsmarts Jack.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd give credit to that.
But also, how does he get out of the maze but Jack can't?
That's a good question. I thought about that last time I watched it. I think maybe he just ends up retracing his steps, and then Jack just goes further into the maze, so he gets lost.
Robert Wild, I like how Danny outsmarts Jack in the scene, and the movie has already established he knows the way out of the maze.
Oh well, there you go. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
if
'cause
Jack
him
is
and
is
Wendy went
part
through it.
of the Overlook, he should also know that.
Well, he's not. Is he part of the Overlook, or is he just?
Well, because you get that
no?
shot at the end.
Well, he's fully that at that point. He's fully absorbed. He's not fully absorbed now because he's still alive.
Well, and it's also
At
hard to
least
tell.
that's how I took it.
It's hard to tell how possessed he is by this point.
But I think that makes sense. Like Danny and Wendy already went through the maze. Jack didn't go through the maze, so he's lost. I think that tracks.
Yeah, I guess. Like Danny's not even wearing a coat. That little bastard should have frozen by now.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's weird how no one puts a coat on when they go outside in this movie.
Jack at least has like a jacket. I do like the way this is shot, though.
This movie looks.
But
beautiful.
again, what did this kid think he was filming? That's sad. I'm out of coffee. You can't see it very well, but this thing keeps coffee. Like before I got this, my coffee would be cold by like my first break. Now I'll like when I'm working, I'll subconsciously pick it up even after I moved on to just like water for the day. And it's like, oh, this is still warm. I can still drink this.
I think I've had enough coffee for the night. I don't know what's going on. I'm really shaky.
Well, we'll take a break after we finish this movie and then see how you're feeling.
Yeah, I'll update you because I don't really know what's going on right now. I also only drank one cup, so.
Yeah, one cup shouldn't be making you feel shaky.
Yeah, I guess I have no tolerance.
Run a lap around your house, you'll be fine. Just burn off that excess energy.
I think that's what I should do, yeah.
Robert Wild, I do love the idea that the photo of Jack was in the hotel the whole time and no one ever noticed it, but I do read the ending as Jack. No, it's definitely that, especially when you get to Dr. Sleep. And like I know it's two different directors, but a narrative is a narrative. Noah's gonna run laps, folks. He's got excess energy to burn off. Also, this is just goofy.
Or he's going, Daddy!
Yeah, it just like devolves into grunts.
I could see how this could be scary in 1980, but
Yeah,
a little silly. I think
like, and this just goes on too long.
This is still maybe my favorite horror movie.
Like he's just making noises now.
All right. So are you? This is the last theory I'll bring up because the movie's over. Are you familiar with the reincarnation theory? Because it's not something I knew about until recently.
No.
So basically, it's pretty basic. The idea is the reason why you see Jack in this picture is because Jack, our current Jack in this movie, is a reincarnated version of the previous, or one of the previous caretakers of the hotel. And I guess he keeps getting reincarnated and brought back to the hotel.
That's so lame.
I think there's some credence to it just because he keeps saying, "Oh, I feel like I've been here before," and then there's that line, "You've always been here."
Yeah.
But
no, I figured somebody made a fan theory out of that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm torn about it because I like that theory in theory, no pun intended.
That's
But
just a game theory.
I always read it more as that he's part of the hotel now, and that also obviously tracks with the next movie where he's
Yeah.
just one of the spirits in the hotel.
No, I think that works
And
way better.
either than that, or either way, this is still one of the most chilling final shots of a movie. I think, just like that still image of his creepy face.
Robert Wyatt, I think one of the deleted scenes we know about was an epilogue with Danny and Wendy. Well, that makes sense when you look at like
Yeah.
where Doctor Sleep starts.
I remember hearing about that. Yeah. Well, that's The Shining, a classic horror movie.
That is The Shinning, a Simpsons episode. Oh wait, that's a different thing. No, that is a pretty good movie. That would maybe make my top 10. I'd have to actually think about like
Yeah.
top 10 horror.
Oh, this was edited by Ray Lovejoy.
One
I
of the
don't-
injured guests is Norman Gay.
Norman Gay. The name Ray Lovejoy only stuck out to me because I've seen Batman '89 so many times. I know that he also edited that movie.
Oh, okay.
So I've seen the opening, and he's just got a name that sticks out, like Ray Lovejoy.
Robert Wilde, there's just something really creepy about Jack's presence being there the whole time. Just a tiny detail unnoticed by our characters. I guess.
The other problem I have with the reincarnation theory is I'm not sure how it fits in thematically. Like it just kind of feels like another random detail.
Yeah.
But it's much like the no ghost theory. I want to believe in it, but I don't know if I can.
I want to believe.
We should talk about
Well,
that show.
we should. I just need to watch that. Well, folks, that was The Shining.